Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Get on the Bus, Rev Up Your Reference Skills program. Today's chapter, I suppose, is all about keyword searching, and we have Bobby and Chris from the State Library, who hopefully will not bore you, actually. I've heard their presentation already in various bits and pieces, and I'm actually excited to hear the whole thing. It's going to be fantastic. A couple of brief announcements before I let them take over is that if we have any technical issues like we did last week, or you need to leave the webinar for whatever reason, don't worry, we will have an archive of this presentation up on the Get on the Bus website later today. If you do homework for the keyword searching section by the 1st of April, you'll be eligible to win a $25 Amazon.com gift certificate and a Boogie Board LCD writing tablet. And in fact, I just drew names about 10 minutes ago for the image searching program that we did last week. And Jessica up in Park County will be receiving a Boogie Board, and Megan Harold from Johnson County will be getting an Amazon.com gift certificate. So fantastic. So do have your homework done in a week, and perhaps you too can win a prize. If you do all of the homework for all of the sections of Get on the Bus by April 15th, you could win registration at the 2010 Wyoming Library Association Conference, an iPod Touch, or other great prizes. I finally did hear back from the PTSB, so if you're a teacher and you did want some continuing education credit for Get on the Bus, please let me know, because we can give you 2 credits for completing this course. Also, if you're interested in looking at the Library Support Staff Certification Program offered by the American Library Association, the Get on the Bus program should help you earn that certification. It should check the box under the reference section. More information about the Library Support Staff Certification Program will be put out on April 14th in a webinar. So look for instructions and time and all that good stuff coming out next week. So without further ado, I'll turn it right over to Chris and Bobby.
Hello everyone, this is Bobby, and I'm going to start with some searches in workflows, and then we'll go over to Wildcat, do a few searches there, and then on to OCLC. So the first search I'm going to do here, and I like to do it in modified title only because that's where I do most of my work, but you can search in any of the search wizards. I'm going to do an exact search, an exact title search. I'm actually looking for this title by the author Snow. And what I retrieve with an exact title search is an author who is not Snow, and it retrieves only 1 record. So let's go back and try it as a keyword search and see what happens there. Again, it's a title search, but this time we're going to do it as a keyword search. And here we have a great many more options. We retrieve 9 records, and the record I want is actually this one by Snow, right here. The reason we didn't get it with our exact search is because of this subtitle right here, a novel. The system is set up to not include subtitles in the indexing. Whatever you retrieve with this kind of search, this exact title search, depends on how the indexes have been created and how a record has been cataloged. In this case, the record was cataloged with a novel as part of a subtitle, and that subtitle is not included in an exact title search. So let's go ahead and take a look at a tech note. We're going to take a look at tech note 68 right here. This tech note gives us the tags that are included in the keyword searching. So if you look at this first line here, these are all the tags that are included, the fields that are included in an author keyword search. They may be familiar to a lot of you, but in case they aren't, I'm going to point out a few of them. The 100, of course, is the personal author. The 110 is a corporate name. 111 is a name for a meeting. The 700, of course, is an added entry personal name, like the illustrator or maybe an editor. The 710 would be for a conference, added entry for a conference name. A 711 would be an added entry for a meeting. And a 720, you'll probably see a lot of those on those very brief OCLC records that come into the database. Instead of putting the author's name in a 100 tag where it's supposed to be, they put it in a 720. So for the title keyword search that we're going to be doing, the system looks at the 130 tag, which is a uniform title. We all know that the 245 is our main title, and a 246 is a variant form of the title. It'll look at the series in a 440, and it looks for a title in the 505, which is a contents note, in a subfield T, meaning the 505 has been enhanced, and they've added a subfield T. And we'll see one of those. And of course, the 730s are the uniform titles again. Periodical titles, it'll look 245 for the main title, a 246 for a variant title, a 780 for a preceding form of the title, or if a title has changed, the old title would be in a 780 tag. And the 785 tag is a succeeding title. So if you're looking at a periodical title that's no longer published under the title that you retrieved it with, the new title will be in the 785. Subjects, these are all the subject heading tags. Again, they correspond here to what we've seen before, 600 personal author. 610 is, of course, the corporate. Over here, the 650, that's a topical heading. A 651 is a geographic subject heading. The 655s are the genre headings. And the 690 here is a local topical heading. 691 is a local geographic heading. And the series. We all know that the 400s, 4XXs are series tracings, and the 800s as well. So those are the tags that the system is going to look at whenever it's looking for whenever you do a keyword search. So let's go back to our workflow session and do a couple more searches there. The next one I want to do is for a DVD, and it's about the German language. So I'm going to try German game. Again, title here, keyword over here. Let's see what we get. Okay, so it's good. The record I actually wanted is the very first one, German language learning DVD game. So I was able to retrieve it just by doing 2 words. Had lots more options here, but the ones I thought would get me to it the quickest were the combination of German and game. There's something else on this record I'd like to look at. There's a general note down here. This would be in cataloging language a 500 tag. But this says that this phrase, talk more, interactive DVD, appears on the container. So let's see what happens if we do that as a search. Just going to do talk more DVD. And I'm not going to do it as a title search. I want to do it as a general search. The general search means it's going to look at all fields on a bibliographic record. Doesn't matter what field it's in. It'll look at every one of them to find the phrase that I've entered here. Keyword general search on talk more DVD. And that gives us 2 of them. It gives us the German one that we're looking at right now, and a Spanish one, or the German one we found earlier. And it's showing us the Spanish one here as well. And here it has the same phrase from the container. Okay, here's another one. This one, Anatomy Workbook, we're going to go back to doing it as a keyword title search. Okay, first one again on the hit list that I wanted. The reason I chose to do it this way might be because I don't know what to do with the ampersand here. It's a Boolean operator, but maybe I don't know how to deal with it. So in this case, I chose to just leave it out. And I chose to use anatomy because this other word here might be a little difficult to spell. And it could be the keystrokes aren't very convenient to do. So I've chosen not to use it. So I just went with anatomy workbook, and I got my title. Okay, for those of you who don't use workflows, but actually use Wildcat more, let's go ahead and go over to Wildcat. And let's see. You probably do know that you're searching the same indexes in workflows and in Wildcat alike. It's exactly the same search string. So here, I went to Teton County. Let's try this one. This is actually one of my favorites because I'm going to pull up this title using 3 words, but the title itself actually has 14 words in it, and I really don't want to type all 14. Power Poetry Language, if I spell it right. It's a keyword title search. And I get 2 hits, but the one I really want is this first one. Using the power of poetry to teach language arts, social studies, science, and more. And I really don't want to type all that in. So I just used words actually embedded within the title. So you can see that you don't have to use the first word of the title to get it to come up. I chose words embedded within it. Power, poetry, language. Okay, got another one to try here. This one is timeline revolution. Let's see what that gets us. Again, keyword, title. Got 1 hit on this one. I was actually expecting more, but this is good. The title itself is A Timeline of the Industrial Revolution. This one I chose because I wanted you to see what would happen if you chose a word like timeline as opposed to the 2 words industrial revolution. You're used to seeing those 2 words or hearing those 2 words together, so I chose to use a word that was a little bit different so I would get a better opportunity for a more unique search. Let's see what happens if we do an industrial revolution as our 2 keyword searches. Again, keyword title. Because we're used to seeing these 2 words together, we retrieve more hits. In Teton County, it's not too bad. Here's our record that we originally was looking for. If you were to search this keyword in all libraries with Industrial Revolution, you would get something like 139 hits. So in that case, it really is a good idea to go with a more non-traditional word, something that you wouldn't normally expect to see with either of these other 2. The last one we're going to search here in Wildcat, just because I like this title, is Girl Fell Sky. Again, title, keyword. Okay, this gave me 3 hits, a sound recording, and the print version. Again, look at this first one. It takes us back to the Walking Wounded title we searched first. This wouldn't have come up if I'd done this search as Girl Fell Sky as a keyword search. And the reason it wouldn't is because of this A Novel, the subtitle. Okay, let's get out of here and do a couple of searches in OCLC. There are 2 ways you can get to OCLC from this screen. The first way I'm going to do is through first search. So I just click on the F alphabetically, find my WorldCat, and click on first search, the Connect Now. I'll do two searches in here, one on this basic search screen, and then we'll go up here to the advanced search and try one there. Let's just do a straight keyword search. This is similar to that keyword general search that we did in Wildcat. I'm not going to specify a keyword title, I'm just going to do a straight keyword search. Again, another title I like. This is actually Chris's title, but we both like it, I think. So I'll click on search. And I actually got 19 hits here. 14 of those are books. You can see it right here. 3 are visual, and they indicate that with a little tiny camera. There's one that's an archival material and one that's a computer disk. But the little blue book you can see right over here on the left are all of our books. So from this screen you would make your selection of which one you want. And you can see the title is actually Beatles Toasted Lightly, which I think is even funnier. Several options. These look fairly similar. Publishers, is different. Here's a totally different title. And if we scroll down, we see we have other options. Because we're looking at all of them, we get the little camera over here for the DVD. Come down a little bit farther, we get a little emblem for a braille item. We only get 10 on this screen, so to see the rest of them, we just click on this little arrow, and it'll take us to the second screen of these, so we can continue to make our selection. Here's the large print version, another little camera, and here's that computer disk that they showed us. Corresponds to right up here. And then the last, the 16th one here, is the manuscript, or the archive one. So from this you would make your selection of what title you actually wanted to look at. You can also see right here under Libraries Worldwide, this would be your link for interlibrary loan purposes if you need to get one of these titles from OCLC through interlibrary loan. So let's go back. We'll click right here to go back to our search screen. And let's try an advanced search. So in this case, I'll just click right here for advanced search. Click here to clear my screen so I don't have these keyword option in here. And let's try a number, just because it's slightly different. I'm going to look for a periodical. This actually happens to be the ISSN for Backpacker Magazine. But instead of doing it as a keyword search, since I'm doing a numeric search, I'm going to come over here and indicate that I want an ISSN search. And if I want to further limit this, I can come down here and click the serials publication. So now I'm telling OCLC that I want this ISSN just as a serial. Click on my search box, and now I have nine hits. Again, here's my interlibrary loan connection for Backpacker Magazine. Slightly different emblem or icon for a serial. Okay, one other thing I want to show you, I'll get out of here, that I want to show you before I turn this over to Chris, is the other way to get into OCLC. And that's just click on W for WorldCat. Here it is on our list of W titles. Just click Connect Now, and our look for OCLC is entirely different. This one is how you will search OCLC if you choose to do the homework assignment for this particular option. Okay, I'm ready to turn it over to Chris.
Okay, so now we're going to look at just discuss a little bit about keyword searching, subject searching, when you're working with your patrons or with your students. Keyword is generally the easiest place to start because those are your terms or your patrons' terms or your students' terms. If you use subject, you have to know the correct subject heading, the secret handshake. For example, if I would think that the subject is cooking, but actually it's cookery. A disadvantage to keyword searching, it does not take into account the meaning of search terms, terms with more than one meaning, like mouse, for example. Are you looking for the rodent? Are you looking for the computer software? Are you looking for children's books? A lot of irrelevant records can be retrieved. In a subject search, only the subject headings are searched for words to match your search terms. So we're going to look at making best use of both of those. Also, for my part today, I want to offer up not only those search suggestions, but I'm going to mix them in with some training items that you have access to, so that you can not only see, if this is new to you, how to do these kinds of searches, but if you're offering up training to patrons or students, some places to go for information. There are a lot of tutorials out there on the web. I'm going to bring up one of them. You can see a lot of information. For example, if you wanted to go into some of these, it's not letting me go in. There we go. Open up some of these tutorials. For example, if you just needed a chart on comparing keyword searching and subject searching, so you could go out and look for some of those. Let me close that down. When we look at the comparison of these two, the best way is to discover relevant subject terms, like we talked about, the secret handshake words. It's best to do a keyword search, locate some relevant articles for your research, and then use assigned subjects to launch a new search. And that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to go into a library catalog. I've just chosen Cheyenne's library. So when we're in here, we can go into our search box and just type a term. And like I said, I think it's, if I were just typing out a search, I would think cooking was my more specific terminology. So I'm going to come in here, do Chinese cooking, launch that search. And we see that we've got some short stories here. We've got Fortune Cookie Chronicles. We've got a kid's book. I scroll down, and now I've gotten into some of my cookbooks, what I was hoping to get. To make that more specific and eliminate, say, the children's books, for example, we're going to click on Full Details there on the left, come into our record for one of our Chinese cooking cookbooks. We see our little bit of an abstract here. Where we want to go is up here to the tab that says Catalog Record. Bring our record open, and as we look down through that, we'll see the subject term actually is cookery, Chinese. If I click on that now I can use the vocabulary of this tool. The vocabulary of a database, the vocabulary used, the tighter, more specific, specified vocabulary of this particular catalog. So now what I've got are my cookbooks there. So I can bring those up. The other way that you can use that catalog record tab is if you wanted to find out why, for example, this ghost story fiction book is on my list of cookery, Chinese books. And you'll see if we go into our catalog record tab, so not only can I use it for clues or for getting subject terms, I can also use it for clues about why that item's included. So you'll see in the contents, we actually have some recipes here within our book. So using that for clues. I'm going to come back up here to my navigation bar, launch a new search. So let's come in here and do another one that lets us look at where it's searching. So I'm going to put making saddles in my search and just let it be a keyword search. Again, trying to get clues about what the actual subjects are. So you'll see that we have 3 records. 2 of them are totally irrelevant to what we're looking for. So I'm going to select this middle one, making and repairing Western saddles. Click on Full Details. Again, use the tab at the top that says Catalog Record, and we can come down and look at our subject terms. For this one, I have 2 different ones, saddlery and Western saddles. Since I'm looking at making saddles, I'm going to select saddlery. So you can see that, assuming the knowledge of a subject, if I had clicked on subject for my cooking or subject for my saddles, we've got different words here, and this is a way to come in and find what those exact subjects are, and that one happens to be saddlery. I'm going to do another new search. This one, again, we're going to use our record to look for clues, what's being searched, and where. And Bobby's already done this one, Beatles Lightly Toasted. And I'm going to click on title here, and it brings up a record that has nothing to do with what I just typed in the title. The title it brings back is It's Terrific to Be 10. And you may have noticed that on the list when Bobby had those up. What we can do then to figure out why, because you're going to have patrons and students coming up and asking you, I typed a title search for Beatles Lightly Toasted and I get It's Terrific to Be 10. If I go into my catalog record to find our clues out, you'll see that Beatles Lightly Toasted are listed in our table of contents. And just as a reminder, I'm going to bring up TechNote 68 and remember that Bobby showed you on this particular record, am I going the right place?
You are.
The 505T means what?
That means that this is the Beatles Toasted Lightly is found in a subfield T of the contents note. The contents note is the 505. The T represents, of course, title. So that means the record has been enhanced so that the title will appear also in the title index.
So that's why you can tell. You'll see that a lot if you've got books of short stories, that you'll put in a title and it'll actually be in the table of contents. So use your catalog record to find that information. The next search I'm going to do in here, and the last search, is Bud Not Buddy. This particular title is the title heard round the state when we launched with Circe. The screens look different then. We didn't have all this information on our search screen. So people would be sitting there, and I can hear the phone calls from librarians around the state saying, I am holding this book in my hand, and now I'm going to do a title search. And they did a title search, and nowhere on this screen does Bud Not Buddy appear. I'm going to go back here. What we learned about Circe, about our catalog, is it is actually a title keyword search, and as such recognizes Boolean operators. And we'll talk about that in a second. Boolean operators and or not. So what this is actually telling the search is look for everything that has bud, but ignore the word buddy. So that's why we have all of those titles that have bud in them, but nowhere to be found is buddy. Bobby talked about the use of exact search. For this particular book, if I click on exact here above my search bar, now click title, I'm going to get my Bud Not Buddy titles. What she was warning you about is if I used the exact search and it was her Girl Fell Sky one, it had a subtitle which would not come up because I've told it to do exact search on what's on my screen. So know about keyword and title search, but also know where you could use the exact radio button. So let's talk a little bit about Boolean operators. Since we have our Bud Not Buddy, and you may have folks coming up, why can I not pull this up? So I've got a handout here. I'm going to bring that up. A Boolean handout, and let's go over this a little bit. They call them Boolean operators. They're logical relationships among search terms. Other people call them connectors. They're and, or, and not. And will retrieve records in which both search terms appear, and they're represented usually by using the Venn diagram. So a lot of you may remember this from math class and didn't think you'd have to know it. This is a great place to use that. So what it's telling me here, my search is camping and fishing. I'm not going to get any records that just have camping. I'm not going to get any records that just have fishing. I'm only going to pull up those records that have camping and fishing in them. This is a little confusing for kids because they're used to and being more. I want this and this and this, or I have this and this and this. They're seeing it as more items, where in searching with Boolean operator and, you're actually going to get less because you're telling it to be very specific that both terms have to be there. Or is retrieving at least one of the search terms. So you can see this could be a very large search result list. So in the example here, my search is dyslexia or learning disabilities. This is often a really good use when you've got synonyms, very common concepts together. So what it's telling it is I want everything that has dyslexia in it, everything that has learning disabilities in it, and everything that has both of those terms in it. So another one that you might use would be accidents or injuries, tests or test with your search. The next one is not, and this may sound like kind of the answer to all your prayers. All I have to do is eliminate a search. So in this example, I'm telling it that I want all the hits that have radiation in them, but I don't want anything about nuclear radiation. Where you have to be careful with this is because our databases and catalogs are so much more sophisticated, as we saw with Beatles Lightly Toasted, titles are listed in table of contents. So you may have a chapter that is on nuclear radiation, and you will not get that item because you told it you don't want anything that has nuclear radiation in it. Where you might use that, if you have a big search like radiation not nuclear, is to do one that's nuclear or just radiation, leave it alone, and narrow it by date. Some examples for this would be terrorists not Irish, dolphins not Miami, and of course, Bud not Buddy, if you didn't want Buddy to show up. Where you can see some more information about this is in using our tech notes. So I'm going to go back into the tech notes. Bobby had number 68 up. The other one that you might look at is tech note number 17. And these are available off of the State Library homepage. On the left-hand side, you'll see some technical documentation, and you can bring these up. So here's tech note 17. It talks about that keyword searching, general search, title search, phrase and quotes if you needed to use that. And then if you scroll down, you'll see there's information about Boolean operators. The reason Boolean is capitalized, well, here they did all of them, but Boolean is named after a mathematician, George Boole, so it's actually a person's name. But it also talks about stop words, so you might want to come in here and look at some of this about the Boolean operators and your stop words. Since I said I would also offer up, in addition to some searching practice, some ideas about searching, and some training materials, I'm going to go into YouTube. If you search YouTube, you can get a lot of tutorials, and you have to watch to see who did them, but I thought you might want to see
or
this one on
Boolean, as I
Boolean.
used to call it before I went to library school, is a search method or methodology in which you can better use a research database. Now, there are many different facets of Boolean searching, and we will not go into all of them by any means. We are going to look at just a very basic strategy in Boolean search logic today.
So what I'm doing, I'm going to let that play a minute because I want to have you see what she's actually doing. So you can find some that are not only a little humorous.
Sandwich. Okay, we got our peanut butter. We're going to make a peanut butter part of the sandwich. And you said I must have peanut butter. And I must have jelly.
Okay, so you can see where that's going. She's working on a Boolean search by doing a visual representation of that with a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You'll also see up here, if you can see it on your screen, she has some parentheses. There are ways to build more specific searches using your Boolean operators and or not, as well as parentheses to expand that and do more with it. You can see here on the right-hand side, the right-hand side, other related videos, but you can also see that this one's cute Miffy. You may want to not do that one, but then you can see some that are put up by libraries. Here's one by a Baylor librarian talking about keywords and then and or not. So take a look at some of those different YouTube and tutorials out there on the web. The next thing we're going to do is go back to our databases page and do some of these searches, get out of the catalog and go into some of our databases, our online databases. Usually your patrons are coming to you with their research as a question. They can take those words to form the basis of their keyword searching. Once they do that, most of our databases offer up related subjects. So let's go into Wilson's OmniFile full text. I'm going to go in using the W here. If you want to know more about the databases, you can click on Show All and see a long alphabetic list. So here's the W list where Bobby was for WorldCat, and I'm going to come in here to Wilson's OmniFile. When you come into these databases, you're authored up advanced and basic search screens. Most of your advanced screens, which we have defaulted to here, let you see your Boolean operators and or not in a drop-down menu right next to your search boxes. So it allows you to build that Boolean search right there without having to remember how to do all your parentheses that you learned in your peanut butter and jelly example. I'm going to click on basic search though, because you don't have to go to the advanced search and use the drop-down menus for your Boolean operators. I can come in and do a search, so I'm going to put how to and patio. So I'm using my Boolean operator and to build that search, but I did not have to use those drop-down menus. Whoops. The other thing about Wilson is we have 2 databases from Wilson, and you do have to put a check mark in the little box there. That's what that message was about. So if you see that, just come back out here and put a little click in the box. So now it's slowly doing a search on how to and patio. In Wilson, I have my list of results here. And because I did a keyword search, you'll see that I have outdoor dining, I have decks on a budget, I have patchwork patio, how to make your own outdoor film party. So here's where, like we did in the catalog, we want to go in and look at a record and find those subject terms. The other thing I want to show you is the page numbers are hard to see in Wilson, so they're here at the very bottom. So I'm going to click on page 2, and again, we've got a wide variety here. I'm going to select from Ho-Hum to Heavenly here, and we'll look at the subjects to help narrow or expand using this specified vocabulary. You'll see that the subjects are landscape architecture, home grounds, decks, patios, terraces, etc., garden designs. Again, that kind of secret handshake vocabulary that I wouldn't have come up with. But now we can click on that, decks, patios, and terraces, for example, and we have another list of results. The other thing most all of our online databases provide are other searches. So notice on the left here, you can do a new search by subject. So it's not going to add it on, it's going to launch it just like we did from our record. Or you can narrow these results by subject. So it's going to pull these subjects from the results I have here down my list. So I could just click on one of these, and launch a new search. I'm going to go back to another one of our databases by going back to the Find page. And this time I'm going to go into Master File, which is a very general EBSCO database. And I'm going to click on that. And now we're going to do a search in EBSCO. But before we do that, I want you to look down here under Search Options. Notice that it's defaulting to Boolean phrase. So if I were to put in my Bud Not Buddy, it's going to see it as the title Bud Not Buddy. Or we'll see it as a Boolean phrase, Bud Not Buddy. So it will not pull up the title. It will again apply the not. It also has find all my search terms, find any of my search terms, rather than listing and an or. To find out what that is, there's a little question mark here to the left of that. If we click on that, it will describe what those search modes are. So it tells me that find all of my search terms is an automatic and find any of my search terms is an automatic or. So they're just using a little more lingo that people might understand. To find out more about Boolean, you'll see over here in my Help menu that I can go to Booleans here in Searching, and it brings up a chart and examples about using and, or, and not. So I'm going to close that and come back out to my search screen. We can use the Find box here, or again, you can go to an advanced search where you'll see the drop-down menus as well. But I'm going to do this from the basic search screen. So let's do a search on insects, for example. and launch my search. You'll notice that because I just did a keyword search keyword search, I have a very broad range of results. So I've got something here on clothing and backpacker. I have something about ticks. I have children's tales about bugs or something. I have farming information. I've got bee information. So I've got a very broad keyword search. Again, we want to use the language. On the left-hand side, like we saw in Wilson, I can add a word to this. I can go into a record, use the searches, or I can do them out here. So I could come in here to, for example, and add insects, behavior, and research to that. And so now I've added that to my keyword insect search. And you'll notice up here this green bar at the top of my results is called a breadcrumb line. So I've added to my search, and now I can scroll down and I have more specific items about insects. And I can hover over this and it will bring up my abstract. So hovering over that preview icon brings that up and I don't have to click in. If I've narrowed too far or wasn't really what I wanted to use, I can click this little X in my breadcrumb, take that off, and it brings me back here, and now I can add other subject terms. When I was looking at some of the tutorials for these, one of the examples from Indiana State, they talked about, and the quote was, each database assigns its own subject headings, so there's no guarantee that a subject heading in one database will be the same heading in another. That's why it's so important to start searches in every new database with a general keyword search. And I would add to that also looking at their helps, because Gale, our databases from Gale, they have created their own hierarchical subject guide, but then they provide subject subdivisions and related terms. SIRS hands assigns all of their subjects. So it's very important to use the helps. And most of them have, like we saw when we opened the help for the search modes in EBSCO, that they have a lot of information here that you can go in, look up what they're searching, how they're searching, where they're searching. Most of them will not tell you exactly what they're searching and where, because that's all private information for that company. So you're not going to be able to find out everything. I'm going to come back to this one and we're going to look at some other tutorials. Another tutorial that might be of interest to look at, there's so many available, but you can find handouts on Boolean. We saw the peanut butter and jelly, but let's look at one that's a little more serious nature. So here's one from the Griffin Library, and they're talking about keyword searching, they're talking about subject searching, and they'll get into Boolean searching. A lot of these are already created, and I know we've looked at other programs here on Get on the Bus on creating some things, using some widgets, using the LibGuides, for example. But in the meantime, there are a lot of tutorials out there for these different topics. I hope what you'll get out of this is that you really do need to use both subject and keyword searching, and that you need to get in the catalogs and into the databases to practice some searches, explore with some searching, see what they bring up for you. So that's going to wrap up what I've got, and what Bobby and I'd like to do is open it up to any questions you might have. We've talked about searching in workflows, we've talked about searching in our catalog, we've talked about searching in our databases. So now we'd like to see if you've got any questions. Well, you can always contact us here at the State Library, and if there's no other questions, I think we'll go ahead and end for today, and thank you all very much. Please remember that your homework is listed on the Get on the Bus site, and it's under the keyword. Thanks, everybody.